Welcome to Good Karma, Week 6. I'm Fantasy Buddha. This is my blog, fantasybuddha.tumblr.com, or you're on my YouTube channel. Obviously, subscribe if you like the information I have to offer. Apologies for the exceedingly dark background. This is a bit of a road game for me, if you will. I'm out of town visiting family this weekend and having to set up in my brother's media room, and we painted it to be as dark as possible, and therefore the complete and total black background. But so excuse me for last week not having anything posted. I've had YouTube issues and was forced to miss vlogging the good and bad karma last week. So hopefully everything's good to go and we'll move forward. Hopefully you listen to my radio show, the Fantasy Football Power Hour, on 560theteam.com or 560theteam on iHeartRadio apps. And it comes at you every Thursday from 2 to 3 p.m. Eastern time, because if you listened today, you know that I'm super high on all the Steelers tonight on offense. I have Big Ben as my number 3 overall quarterback this week. I love Rashard Mendenhall, and kudos to you if you're one of the wise ones that either drafted Mendenhall and sat on him until he was activated, or were able to be slick enough to pick him up ahead of everybody else. Pat yourself on the back. I like Mike Wallace, Antonio Brown, and I really love Heath Miller to the extent that I'm considering starting Heath Miller ahead of Rob Gronkowski this week. Gronk has a tough matchup with Seattle, but that's neither here nor there. I really expect Miller to put up a big game, and I wouldn't be shocked at all to see him score a touchdown. In fact, I'd be more shocked not to see him score a touchdown, and that's really all we can ask from our tight ends. But anyway, moving forward, at quarterback this week, I really love Christian Ponder. I'm drinking the Kool-Aid, and it's purple. Ponder has a great matchup. He's coming off some great performances. His legs are very underrated. I'm not comparing him to Aaron Rodgers, but in terms of what he gets you, the 4 to possibly even 5 points he gets you every week with this rushing, this is a guy that you have to start considering in deep leagues as a matchup play. And the matchup is right this week. Washington is horrible against opposing fantasy quarterbacks. They've allowed 4 out of 5 quarterbacks this season to go over 300 yards and 2 touchdowns. So I say play Ponder and enjoy it. If you're really scraping the bottom of the barrel, or you're in a 16-team league or a 2-quarterback league, Kevin Kolb is a good play this week against a really soft Buffalo defense. I'll say just real quickly, the Bills are worst in the league, absolute worst, 32nd against opposing fantasy quarterbacks in terms of allowing points. So that certainly will play into it. Moving forward to running backs, I'm not off the BenJarvus Green-Ellis bandwagon. Law firm should bounce back. The challenge that he was receiving from Bernard Scott has fallen by the wayside. Scott is now injured and should not put up any challenge, obviously. Cleveland got shredded by Ahmad Bradshaw last week. They get Joe Hayden back, so I fully expect the Bengals to game plan to try to run the ball as much as possible. 100 yards and a touchdown is not out of question for Law Firm. Start him and reap the benefits. I'll address 3, because I've been getting a lot of questions this week on Twitter. I'll address the 3 running back situations that are up in the air: Indianapolis, Green Bay, and Arizona. And I'll say this. Of the 3 this week, I like Vic Ballard the best. despite his 21 carries for 42 yards. I watched him play in college a lot. I am, of course, a South Carolina alum, and as such, I watch a ton of SEC football. Ballard was an all-around back at Mississippi State, very effective, put up numbers right there with Trent Richardson. Obviously, the talent level is not that high, but the kid can play football. He's now being given a chance for 2 to 3 weeks due to Donald Brown's knee surgery. And he's a good, solid inside runner that should have an opportunity to run inside the tackles this week against a soft Jets defense. So I like him. Second, I guess, of the mess in Arizona, my lean is Larod Stevens-Houtley. He's a shake and bake, big play kind of guy. Don't expect a heavy carries or touch count for Stevens-Houtley, but expect him to do as much with those touches behind that bad Cardinals offensive line as anybody could possibly ask, provided he's able to play, because he is dealing with a little bit of a hip issue. If he's not able to play, I don't love William Powell and I don't love Alphonso Smith. Obviously, I think Powell is rosterable, but you wouldn't want to start him. Lastly, in Green Bay, I think Starks is probably going to get the first shot at the job. But if you go to my blog, fantasybuddha.tumblr.com, once again, you'll notice that I'm an Alex Green guy. I think Alex Green has more talent. I think Alex Green is going to help Aaron Rodgers more out of the backfield and in pass pro. So ultimately, I think Alex Green emerges as the guy to own in Green Bay. But I wouldn't start either one of them this week against Houston, so it's a moot point. All right, moving forward to wide receiver. Love Jeremy Maclin this week. I know you're saying, what? Maclin has barely been involved. I think this is the week Maclin emerges. You're going to get the Maclin that you expected to get when you drafted him as a top 25 type wide receiver. I think moving forward, he's going to reestablish himself in that area, at least as a top 30. So if you're in a 3 wide receiver league, Macklin's going to be a starter the rest of the way out. James Jones, 5 touchdowns in 5 games. He's reaping the benefits of, and that's, I understand, possibly the 3rd time I've said reap the benefits. Apologies for that. But he is the beneficiary of Greg Jennings' groin injury. So if Jennings is still out this week, feel free to continue to play James Jones and start him over such luminaries, maybe as even a guy like Dwayne Bowe, because we really don't know what Bowe is going to post this week with Brady Quinn at quarterback. I think Quinn could be effective, but we just don't know. We know for sure that Castle was always looking for Bowe. We don't know what Quinn's bringing to the table. Another receiver I'll just throw out there, Vincent Jackson, I expect to have a good game. He has a familiarity with the Chiefs. The Chiefs have not, statistically, they've been very good, not allowing 100-yard games this season to opposing wide receivers. But I think Jackson, like I said, he does have a good history against the Chiefs. And I think this may be more of a Buddha gut play. So if you trust the prodigious gut on me, then go with it. Also, Jeremy Curley, for guys that are questioning, this is more or less an answer. Yes, he is actually ownable and actually playable in deep leagues. You can kind of count on him as much as you can really count on anybody in that New York offense. Actually, more than anybody in that New York Jets offense. So if you've been sitting on the fence with Jeremy Curley, jump in. All right, I love Heath Miller. I told you he's arguably my number one tight end this week. But another guy that I really like, and this goes hand in hand with my quarterback recommendation. If you watch what the Falcons did to the Redskins last week, you saw Tony Gonzalez. And granted, Tony Gonzalez is the greatest tight end the NFL has ever seen. All due respect to John Mackey and Shannon Sharp and Kellen Winslow the first. But really, let's face it, Tony Gonzalez is the greatest. But Kyle Rudolph this week goes and plays against that same Redskins D. And Rob Jackson's not great in coverage. Ryan Kerrigan, while being a very, very good player, spectacular at times, is not going to be crushing it in coverage. I look for Rudolph he's not a huge yardage guy, but 60 yards for Rudolph this weekend with a touchdown would not shock me. Lastly, we'll hit defense. A lot of people are saying go with the Dolphins versus the Rams offense. I don't think you can go wrong there, but also I think you have to consider Rams versus the Dolphins offense. The Rams people are sleeping on them. Jeff Fisher has done Jeff Fisher things this year with that defense, and he's getting a huge performance from Robert Quinn. He's getting a huge performance from Chris Long. Cortland Finnegan, Janoris Jenkins has at moments looked much better than a typical rookie corner. Darian Stewart is hard-hitting. Laurinaitis is there in the middle of that. It's a tough, underrated defense, and I advise using them this week. I think it's a double figures defense this week. I think they're going to shake Ryan Tannehill, and they're really going to put a lot of pressure on a limited, talent-wise, limited Dolphins offense. All right, so if you have any questions, you can follow me on Twitter at Fantasy Buddha, and that's Buddha, or you can hit me up on Tumblr, and that's Fantasy Buddha. Once again, fantasybuddha.tumblr, TUMBLR.com. Hopefully you enjoyed this, and we'll see you next week. Also, look later for the bad karma, guys, to stay away from this week. Anyway, best of luck. Enjoy the game tonight.